Welcome back. In Module 3, we played with colors. We learned about tints and shades and complementary colors. So in Module 4, we're actually going to take this to the next step, and we're actually going to do some painting. So what I've done is, and you have your instructions on the website, I've taken a piece of fruit and I put it on a cloth and I took a photograph of it. Now you can paint directly from your setup, but sometimes it's a little easier and you can take your time more if you have a photograph of it. So let's take a look at the photo of what I've done. So as you can see, I've taken a tangerine, a nice orange tangerine, and I put it on a blue cloth. Now if you remember with the complementary colors, orange and blue are two complementary colors. So for the orange, I've picked an orange color, cadmium orange, medium. And for the blue, which is a light blue, I'm going to use cerulean blue, which is a light blue, usually used for sky. I'll have to mix that with a little bit of white to get it even lighter. And then on the tangerine, you can notice that there's some other colors here. We have a little darker, redder area on the tangerine. We'll use a little alizarin crimson to mix with our orange for that. And then over here we have a little highlight, so they'll use a little bit of yellow and a little bit of white to create that. So the first steps in painting something like this is to choose the basic colors, a light blue, and we'll paint the entire background that light blue. And we'll choose the orange, add a little bit of white to lighten up the orange I have a little bit, and paint the whole thing orange. After that dries, we'll go in with some dry brush and some other colors to create the tints and the shades to make it look more three-dimensional. Here we have a drawing, just a quick drawing that I did of the original setup. I've drawn this on my watercolor paper, and now I'm going to mix up the blue and the orange, and I'm going to start painting. The first step is to take our white paint and our blue paint, and we're going to create a light blue to paint the entire background. There's basically two things to keep in mind when you're dealing with color. There's the object color, which is the color of the object itself. For example, if you look at the photograph here, the object color of the tangerine is obviously orange. Now, the object color is affected by the way the light hits it. So within that orange color, where there's shadow, we have a lot more red or crimson, and where there's highlight, we have a lot more white or yellow. So first we want to paint the object color, and then after the object color is done, then we'll go in and we'll do some more work on the way the light changes that object color. So I'm going to take a little bit of blue, because we want a pretty light blue, and a lot of white. Mix that up, and I'm going to take this and I'm going to paint the background. So I'm just going to fill this in. It's always a good idea to go from the background to the foreground. You don't want to, usually that's because there's a lot more detail on the foreground, and you don't want to have to fill in between little details and stuff. So as you can see, we now have a white floating tangerine on a sea of blue. And there's lots of styles to the way you paint. Some people paint very realistically and everything is blended really carefully and smoothly, and other people do it very loosely with lots of brush strokes. And I don't want to tell you how to do that. I want you to develop your own style by experimenting and playing with what you've got and see what works best for you. Nice tangerine color here. Alright, so there's our basic object color for the tangerine. And we're going to let that dry, and then we'll go in and add some tints and shades. Okay, I'm just going to take the tiniest little bit of crimson here, mix it up, like so, and then kind of add a little bit of crimson blush to the shadow side of the tangerine. Like so. Take a little bit. Add some shadow over here. Take a tiny little bit of yellow. And brighten up the highlight side over here. And a little bit along this edge as well. And a little bit along the top edge of the stem of the tangerine. I think I'm just going to take a little bit more of the red. Darken this area a little bit here. Like so. Okay, I just took a tiny little bit of black here. I'm just going to put the little stem of the tangerine just like that. Just like that. Alright, so I'm going to take some dark blue and take some shadows. Tangerine. As you can see, now I've added some more highlight, a little more yellow and a little more white there. And I've also blended some of the darker blue, the shadow over here, and added a little bit more highlight along the edges of the fabric. What we want to do with this is we want to play, we want to experiment, we want to paint over it and try different things. And the more you fail, the more you mess up, that's fine. Do it over and over again. We're basically playing with color, and we want this to be a lot of fun, not a lot of self-judgment, and we don't want to look at this and say, oh my God, my tangerine looks like a lump of mud or something. Play, enjoy. Go from a lump of mud to a tangerine, back to a lump of mud. Do whatever you need to do to fuddle around with it so that we learn, and as we learn, we get better at it, and see what happens. Thank you.